A poor girl holds her little brother in her arms and shouts to the young billionaire, "Sir, my brother stopped breathing." He runs toward her, but what he sees next makes him fall to his knees. The rising sun was painting the sky in golden tones when Logan Miller stepped out of the building. Monday, the start of another predictable week. Impeccable suit, hair styled with near mathematical precision, polished shoes reflecting the world around him, a man of routines, the same sidewalk, the same steps, the same internal count, about 5 blocks to the coffee shop, where the barista was already preparing his usual order before he even arrived. "Good morning, Mr. Miller," he could practically hear her say, just like she always did. Numbers didn't lie. 34 years old, more than 10 companies under his command, billions in his account, numbers that filled newspapers but didn't fill his life. Logan went about his routine with the precision of a Swiss watch, with no room for the unexpected. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Twice, earlier than usual, but nothing alarming. Probably the Asian market reacting to the latest deals. He ignored it. 15 minutes to get coffee was the only sacred break in his day, a promise he made to himself. The world could wait a quarter of an hour. Walking, he observed the city waking up. The same people, the same noises. A cab driver complaining about traffic, an elderly couple with their tiny dog, 3 students running to catch the bus, a whole city moving around him without really touching him, as if he walked inside his own invisible bubble, impervious to outside interference. That bubble burst in a matter of seconds. "Sir, my brother stopped breathing." The child's cry tore through the air. Logan stopped, confused. The small figure appeared suddenly, as if out of nowhere. A little girl ran toward him, holding what looked like a rag doll in her arms. Her eyes, huge and terrified, locked on him as if he were the last hope in the world. The girl stopped in front of him, blocking his way. Dark, messy hair, simple wrinkled clothes, her face stained with tears that still rolled down her cheeks. And in her arms, a very small baby, almost a newborn, motionless, skin with a bluish tinge that Logan immediately recognized as dangerous. "Please, sir." Her small voice trembled as she pushed the tiny body toward him. "He's not breathing. Help us." Time seemed to freeze. Logan felt his brain moving in slow motion, a strange sensation of disconnection. Part of him wanted to keep going, stick to his routine, not get involved. Other people's problems were not his, but there was something in that child's eyes, something that held him there. "What happened?" he asked, the words coming out before he realized it. "He was coughing a lot, then he stopped breathing," the girl explained between sobs. "My brother Noah, please help him." Logan hesitated only for a second before taking the boy in his arms. He was so small, so fragile. Desperately trying to recall the first aid training he'd taken years ago for corporate compliance, he checked the baby's airway, positioned him correctly, and began gentle resuscitation maneuvers adapted for such a young child. "Where's your mum? Your parents?" he asked as he worked, not taking his eyes off the baby. The girl did not answer right away. Her gaze was fixed on her brother. "Maya," she finally said. "My name is Maya. My mum's not here. It's just me and my brother." The initial maneuvers weren't working. The baby remained still. Logan felt his heart tighten. He pulled out his phone. "We need an ambulance right away," he told the emergency operator, giving his location with military precision. "Infant in respiratory arrest. Looks very young." The girl corrected him, her voice almost a whisper. "He's only 6 months old." Logan noticed that a small crowd was starting to gather around them, curious faces, some taking pictures. It made him uncomfortable. He also realized the girl was shivering, not just from fear but from the cool morning air. He took off his suit jacket with a quick motion and placed it over her shoulders. "The ambulance will take too long," he decided after a few seconds. He looked around and spotted his driver waiting at the corner, as he did every morning. "We'll take him ourselves." He whistled for his driver, who reacted immediately, bringing the shiny black car closer. Logan got in the back seat with the baby, and Maya practically jumped in after him, clutching his shirt sleeve as though afraid she'd be left behind. "St. Clair Hospital," he ordered the driver. "As fast as you can. It's an emergency." The car sped off, weaving through morning traffic. Logan continued the resuscitation maneuvers, speaking softly to the baby as if his words could bring him back. "Come on, Noah. Breathe. You can do this. Breathe for your sister." After what felt like an eternity but was only seconds, the baby gasped, coughed, and finally, miraculously, took a breath. A weak sigh, followed by a faint cry. Logan felt such intense relief that he became momentarily dizzy. "He's breathing," Maya shouted, jumping on the seat. "Noah!" "He needs doctors," Logan warned, keeping the baby safe. "This is just temporary. We have to get to the hospital." The driver dropped them at the emergency entrance, where a team was already waiting, alerted by the earlier phone call. Nurses and doctors quickly took the baby, placing him on a tiny gurney. One of them asked, "Are you the father?" Before Logan could answer, Maya jumped in. "He helped us. Noah stopped breathing on the street, and he saved my brother." The nurse nodded, focusing on Maya. "And you are his sister," she replied, squaring her shoulders as if trying to look taller. "Can I go with him, please?" The medical team took Noah inside, allowing Maya to accompany them. Logan remained in the lobby, suddenly disoriented, as if waking from a dream. His pristine suit was wrinkled, his shirt stained, his hair disheveled. Nothing about his appearance resembled the controlled executive who'd left home half an hour ago. He should leave now. He'd done his part. The children were in good medical hands. His day was tightly scheduled, important meetings, billion-dollar decisions to make. He started walking toward the exit, but something stopped him. The girl's eyes, Maya, a look of fear, of vulnerability, but also of remarkable strength for someone so small. "Sir," the receptionist called, "we need the children's information for the record. Are you a relative?" "No," he responded automatically. "I just helped on the street." "I see." She typed something into the computer. "Well, we need to contact their guardians." "Did the girl mention any information?" Logan hesitated. "She said her mom wasn't around, just her and her brother." The receptionist frowned. "Then I'll need to call social services. Unaccompanied minors require supervision." That statement triggered something in Logan. Social services meant the system. It meant separation. Those two children could be sent to different foster homes, lost in the bureaucratic maze he knew all too well. "Wait," he said, surprising even himself. "I'll stay with them for now until we find their parents." The woman looked at him in surprise. "You're not a relative. You don't have legal authorization." Logan Miller wasn't used to hearing no. His name opened doors. His money removed obstacles. He loosened his tie and approached the counter. "I'm Logan Miller. I believe the hospital has a newly renovated children's wing bearing my name at the entrance." It wasn't arrogance. It was a fact. His foundation had donated millions to that hospital the previous year. "I will be responsible for these children temporarily while we investigate their situation. I'll sign whatever documents are necessary." Minutes later, he was seated in the waiting room signing papers. His phone kept vibrating in his pocket. Missed meetings, deals on hold. For the first time in years, Logan didn't care. An hour passed. Then another. The phone finally went silent. Probably his assistant had rearranged his schedule upon realizing something serious had happened. Logan remained in the uncomfortable waiting room chair, watching the door where Maya and Noah had disappeared. Finally, a doctor appeared, looking serious but not alarmed. "Mr. Miller?" "I'm Dr. Chen, in charge of baby Noah's case. How is he?" "Stable now. He apparently had a severe case of bronchiolitis that led to a temporary airway obstruction. We're treating him with oxygen and medication. He'll remain under observation, likely for a few days." Logan nodded, absorbing the information. "And the sister, Maya?" The doctor smiled slightly. "She refuses to leave her brother's side. We tried to convince her to rest, but..." He shrugged. "She's a determined child." "May I see them?" The doctor led him down a long corridor to a colorful pediatric area, though it still had the inevitable clinical feel of a hospital. In a small room, Noah lay in a hospital crib, tubes and monitors attached to his tiny body. Next to him, in a chair far too big for her, Maya sat upright, vigilant, her eyes never leaving her brother's face. She turned when she heard the door, and, upon seeing Logan, something in her face lit up momentarily. "You came back," she said, as though stating a surprising fact. "I did," Logan confirmed, approaching carefully. "How is he?" "The doctor said he'll be okay, but he has to stay here." Her voice was small but firm. "I'm staying with him." Logan looked at the heart monitor, the numbers, the lines, data. He'd always felt comfortable with data. What he didn't understand was the tightness in his throat as he watched this small girl, alone, taking care of her sick brother. "Are you hungry?" he asked, noticing it was already past lunchtime. Maya hesitated, then shook her head. "I can't leave. If he wakes up and doesn't see me, he'll be scared." Logan nodded, recognizing her logic. He took out his phone and made a quick call. Half an hour later, a nurse brought in a tray of hot food, not the standard hospital fare, but from a nearby restaurant. "Sandwiches, soup, fresh fruit. We don't usually allow—" "Well, never mind," the nurse remarked, acknowledging who had ordered it. "Rules are flexible in certain cases." Maya glanced at the food, then at Logan, distrustful. "It's okay," he assured her. "You need to eat to keep your strength up to look after your brother." That argument worked. She ate slowly, still watchful. Logan tried a few simple questions: where they lived, where their parents were, but only got vague answers or silence. She clearly had practice revealing very little. The hours went by. Logan sent messages cancelling all his day's appointments. He sat in a chair in the corner of the room, working on his tablet when necessary, but mostly just watching. Watching how Maya spoke to Noah even while he slept, telling him quiet stories, how she adjusted the blanket unnecessarily, how her eyes, though exhausted, refused to close. That night, when the lights were dimmed, Logan saw her fighting sleep. "You can rest," he suggested. "I'll keep an eye on him." Maya shook her head stubbornly. "I always take care of him." "Always?" She didn't answer directly, just said, "If he wakes up, call me." "I promise," Logan replied, and it was the first promise he'd made in a long time. Eventually, fatigue won out. Maya fell asleep in the oversized chair, her small body curled in a position that would surely cause aches by morning. Logan got up quietly, pulled an extra blanket from the hospital cupboard, and covered her gently so she wouldn't wake. He stayed there, between Noah's crib and Maya's chair. Two unknown children who, for some incomprehensible reason, had crossed his perfectly planned path. He took out his phone and looked at the dozens of notifications, urgent messages, emails marked as a priority. Then he looked at Maya, sleeping, at Noah, breathing peacefully now. And something broke inside him. Not painfully, but like ice cracking in the spring, allowing the water to finally flow. A realization that, despite all his wealth, decisions, and power, nothing he did on a daily basis had the importance of what he'd done today, helping two helpless children. He put his phone away, sat down on the narrow sofa in the hospital room. For the first time in years, he had no plan, no strategy, no numbers to calculate, only the certainty that, when the sun rose again, he would still be there, keeping watch over these children who, for reasons he still didn't fully understand, had become his responsibility. The night passed slowly, punctuated only by the soft beeps of machines and the children's breathing. A rhythm far different from the frantic pulse of Wall Street, yet strangely comforting. A reminder of something Logan Miller had long forgotten, the simplicity of just being present, simply present, with no expectations or calculations. Through the window, the city lights twinkled. A whole world continued spinning out there. Meetings took place, deals were closed, fortunes made and lost. But in that small hospital room, a silent, deep, and somehow unbreakable bond was beginning to form. 3 days had passed since Noah was admitted. 3 days in which Maya refused to leave the hospital, refusing to part from her brother even for a moment. Logan had improvised a mobile office in the hospital room, taking important calls in the hallway when necessary, but always returning to that small space where the children rested. On the morning of the 4th day, Dr. Chen arrived with good news. Little Noah is responding well to treatment. I believe we can discharge him in 2 days, but with close follow-up. Logan nodded, relieved, while Maya jumped from her chair, her face lighting up for the first time in days. "He's really going to be better?" she asked, clutching the doctor's coat with a confidence she had only shown toward Logan until then. "Yes, he is," the doctor smiled kindly. "But he still needs lots of care. And you too, young lady. It looks like you haven't slept well in days." Maya shrugged, as if her own comfort was irrelevant. "I'm fine." But she wasn't. Logan noticed the dark circles under her eyes, how her hands trembled slightly when holding a glass of water, how her voice sounded rough with exhaustion. The girl's determination to remain strong was admirable, but she was clearly at her limit. The doctor left, and Logan made a decision. He approached the chair where Maya sat again, ever vigilant beside her brother's crib. "Maya," he called softly, "Noah will be sleeping for a few hours because of the medicine, and you need to rest." She shook her head stubbornly. "I'm not leaving this place. I know you don't want to leave him," Logan tried again, "but you also need to take care of yourself, so you can take care of him when we go home." "Home from where?" she asked, suspicious. Logan took a deep breath. "My apartment is 10 minutes from here. We can go there, you can take a hot bath, eat some homemade food instead of hospital meals, rest a bit, and we'll come back before Noah wakes up. I promise." Maya bit her lip, looking from her sleeping brother to Logan. Natural distrust battled with obvious exhaustion. "What if he cries and doesn't see me here? The nurses promised to call my cell if he wakes up, and I swear we'll run back if that happens." She still hesitated, but then something unexpected happened. Her stomach growled, loud enough to break the tension. A flush of embarrassment crept over her cheeks. "I guess I'm hungry," she finally admitted. "All the more reason for us to take a break," Logan smiled, offering his hand. "What do you say? 2 hours. Tops." After a long moment, Maya nodded. She got up from the chair, but before taking Logan's hand, she leaned over Noah's crib. "I'll be back soon, buddy," she whispered, adjusting the blanket around the baby with a care belonging to someone far older. "I promise I won't take long." That promise seemed to satisfy her, as if saying it out loud sealed an unbreakable contract. Finally, she took Logan's hand and let him guide her out of the room, looking back several times. In the car, she sat quietly, watching the city through the window with curious yet cautious eyes. When they arrived at Logan's building, she looked up, impressed by its height. "You live way up there?" "On the top floor," Logan confirmed as the driver opened the door for them. "Like a giant in a tower?" she asked, for the first time sounding truly like the child she was. Logan smiled. "Something like that." The lobby of the building was elegant, with polished marble and uniformed staff greeting Logan respectfully. Maya squeezed his hand tighter, clearly intimidated by the environment. The private elevator took them directly to the apartment, and when the doors opened, it revealed a spacious, modern, and surprisingly minimalist place. "Wow," Maya let slip, looking around. "Looks like something from a magazine." Logan showed her around the apartment. The living room had floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. The kitchen was immaculate, clearly rarely used. He briefly showed her the office, the guest bedroom, and finally the master bathroom. "You can bathe here," he said, opening a door that revealed a luxurious bathroom with a tub large enough to seem like a pool to Maya. "I'll find something for you to wear while we wash your clothes." Maya touched the edge of the tub cautiously, as if afraid she might break it. "I can really go in there?" "Sure. I'll run the water for you." Logan adjusted the temperature, added bath salts, and let the tub fill. Then he went to his bedroom, rummaged through drawers to find a t-shirt that, though small for him, would be huge on Maya. He placed it on the bathroom counter along with a soft towel. "All set." "Can you manage on your own, or do you need help?" "I know how to bathe," she answered with a hint of pride. "I've been bathing myself since—" She hesitated, then finished quietly, "Since forever." Logan nodded, respecting her independence. "I'll be in the kitchen making us something to eat. If you need anything, just call." He left her alone, closing the door gently. In the kitchen, he opened the nearly empty fridge, a result of a life of restaurant meals and takeout. Fortunately, His assistant had ordered it restocked when she found out he'd be home. He found eggs, cheese, bread, some fruit. Enough for an improvised breakfast that would serve as lunch on that strange day. As he cooked, he thought about Maya. He hadn't managed to learn much about her situation. The hospital social worker had begun an investigation, but so far had no concrete results. Maya had no documents, and no missing child reports matched her description. It was as if she and Noah had appeared out of nowhere. 20 minutes later, he heard the bathroom door open. Maya appeared in the kitchen, looking smaller and more vulnerable in his oversized t-shirt. Her wet hair dripped over her shoulders, and her cheeks were pink from the hot bath. "I tried to clean up the bathroom, but I think I made a mess," she confessed immediately. "Don't worry about it," Logan assured her, placing scrambled eggs and toast on the table. "Come eat while it's still warm." She climbed onto a chair, settling in carefully. She looked at the plate with a mix of hunger and hesitation. "You really made this?" she asked, picking up the toast and examining it as if it were something strange. "Believe it or not, I can manage a few basic things," Logan smiled, sitting across from her. "It's nothing special, but it's better than hospital food." Maya took a bite of the toast, then another, and soon she was eating with an appetite that revealed how hungry she really was. Logan watched in silence, noticing how she ate slowly despite her hunger, as if she'd learned to make food last. When she finished, she took a sip of orange juice and said abruptly, "Thank you for helping us." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do," she insisted, looking him straight in the eye with a disconcerting seriousness. "No one ever helps. They just look and walk away." The simplicity of that statement hit Logan like a punch. How many times had he himself looked and walked away from difficult situations, from people in need? The girl was watching him, waiting for a response, but he found himself at a loss for words. "Why do you live alone?" she asked, switching topics with a child's effortless shift. "Don't you have a family?" The question caught him off guard. "I have parents, but they live far away. I've always been very independent." "What's independent?" "It means you do things by yourself, without needing help." Maya considered this. "Then I'm independent too. I take care of Noah by myself." Her statement, spoken so naturally, highlighted the very issue Logan had been avoiding. He felt it was time to try again. "Maya," he began cautiously, "where's your mum or your dad?" She lowered her gaze, fiddling with a piece of toast on her plate. For a moment, Logan thought she would clam up again, but then she spoke in a low voice. "My mom left. Said she was going to buy milk, but never came back." "When did that happen?" "Not sure, lots of days ago." "Before Noah got sick." "And your dad?" Maya shrugged. "Never met him." Logan kept his tone casual, not wanting to scare her now that she was finally opening up. "So you've been taking care of Noah by yourself since your mom left?" She nodded, the movement almost imperceptible. "We had a little food in the fridge. Then it ran out. Then I went out to ask for help, when Noah started turning blue." The simplicity of her narrative contrasted with the magnitude of the situation. A small child caring for a 6-month-old baby alone, with no food, until a desperate moment that brought them together on the sidewalk. "Where did you live?" he asked, trying to gather information that might help locate them in the system. "In an old building. Our apartment was small. There were rats." She shivered slightly. "I don't like rats." "And your mom, what's her name?" "Tessa," Maya answered. "Tessa Collins." Logan mentally noted the name. It was a start for the investigation. "Do you have any other family? Grandparents, uncles?" Maya shook her head. "Just us. Mom always said it was the three of us against the world." The expression, clearly repeated from her absent mother, carried a sadness that didn't match a child so young. Logan felt a pang in his chest. "Maya, I want you to know you're not alone now. I'm going to help you and Noah, I promise." She looked at him with a mix of hope and distrust. "People always promise things." "I keep my promises," Logan said firmly. "Always." Something in his tone seemed to convince her, at least for the moment. She nodded, accepting his word for now. "Can we go back to Noah now?" she asked, pushing the empty plate away. Sure, but he'll still be sleeping, and you also need some rest. I'm not sleepy, she protested, but a yawn betrayed her. Logan smiled. The guest room is ready. You can lie down for a bit while I call the hospital to check on Noah. To his surprise, Maya didn't argue further. She followed him to the guest room, climbing onto the bed that was far too big for her. Logan pulled a light blanket over her. I'll be in the living room, he promised. Get some rest. He was about to leave when a small voice called him back. Do you have paper and pencils? Yes. You want to draw? She nodded. I always draw for Noah, so he can see when he wakes up. Logan fetched a notepad and some colored pencils he kept in his office. When he returned, Maya was already settled against the pillows. Thank you, she said, taking the supplies with reverent care. You're welcome. What do you like to draw? Happy things, she replied simply, so Noah won't feel sad in the hospital. Logan left her drawing and went back to the living room, where he checked his messages. The hospital confirmed Noah remained stable and asleep. His assistant had rescheduled all meetings and sent the most urgent documents for digital signing. The world kept spinning, but somehow it felt less important now. He spent an hour responding to essential emails. When he checked on Maya, he found her asleep, the sketchpad and pencils scattered on the bed. He gathered them carefully so she wouldn't wake and looked at the drawings. Simple, colorful figures, a depiction of her and her brother, smiling clouds, a bright yellow sun, and on the last page, 3 figures together. He recognized himself as the tallest figure in a suit, next to what must be Maya and Noah. Something about that childlike representation of an improvised family moved him deeply. He put the drawings aside gently and let Maya sleep, closing the door softly. Back in the living room, he sat with his laptop open but couldn't focus on work. His mind kept returning to Maya's story, a mother abandoning 2 young children, a child caring for a 6-month-old. No support system at all. On the computer screen, he opened a new browser window and typed the name Tessa Collins. Maybe he could find a clue, some record that might shed light on the situation. He didn't expect the protective feeling growing inside him. Maya and Noah had come into his life by chance, a desperate cry on the sidewalk, a moment he could have missed if he'd left home 5 minutes earlier or later. And now, somehow, he felt responsible for them. 2 hours later, as promised, he woke Maya gently. She came awake instantly, eyes wide as if she'd been caught doing something wrong. Noah, was the first word she said, sitting up abruptly. He's fine, Logan assured her. I called the hospital 10 minutes ago. He's still sleeping peacefully. She visibly relaxed. Can we go back now? Sure. I got some clean clothes for you. He showed her a bag containing children's items he'd asked his assistant to buy while Maya slept. She looked at the new clothes with amazement. They're for me. Yes, I hope they fit. Maya picked them up carefully, as if they were fragile. Logan left her to dress on her own, returning when she called him. She was ready, in a simple dress and new sneakers. Hair still messy, but her face more rested. You look better, he commented. I miss Noah, she replied, avoiding any comment about the new clothes, though her fingers discreetly caressed the fabric. Then let's go back to him. On the way back to the hospital, Maya gazed out the car window more relaxed than before. Holding the sketchpad in her lap, she suddenly spoke. Your apartment is nice, but really quiet. What do you mean? There's no noise, no people. She turned to him. Don't you get lonely there? The question, so simple and direct, struck Logan in a vulnerable spot he rarely acknowledged. Sometimes, he admitted. But I'm used to it. I don't like being alone, Maya confessed. It's better when someone's there, even if they're sleeping. Logan nodded, understanding the feeling more deeply than he cared to admit. I agree. It's better not to be alone. When they arrived back at the hospital, Maya ran to Noah's room, eager to see her brother. Logan followed more slowly, carrying the bag with her drawings and some extra clothes they'd purchased. In the room, they found Noah awake, looking around with big, curious eyes. Maya rushed to his crib, beaming. Hey, buddy, I brought new drawings for you. The baby smiled at the sight of his sister, waving his arms. The nurse in attendance smiled at Logan. He woke up a little while ago. He's much better today. Logan watched the siblings reunite, the pure joy on Maya's face as she saw Noah feeling better, the way the baby responded to her voice, a bond so strong, so pure, something money could not buy, something power could not create. In that moment, he made a silent promise, not just to Maya and Noah, but to himself. He didn't know exactly what the future held, or how this improbable situation would turn out, but he knew he wouldn't abandon these children. Somehow, somewhere along the way, they had become too important. Maya taped the colorful drawings to the wall next to the crib, explaining each one to Noah as if he could fully understand. The baby gurgled happily, responding to his sister's attention. Logan smiled, watching the scene. For the first time in years, he felt truly present, not thinking about the next step, the next acquisition, the next goal to reach. Just there, witnessing something valuable and fragile, the start of a connection that would change his life in ways he still couldn't comprehend. A promise made. A new path beginning. Noah's fourth day in the hospital showed signs of improvement, but the doctors advised caution. The little one still needed constant monitoring and supplemental oxygen. Logan and Maya had settled into a routine, days spent in the hospital, a brief return to the apartment at night for essential rest. That afternoon, while Noah slept peacefully, Maya was flipping through a storybook Logan had bought at the hospital's bookstore. However, her eyes wandered more to the window than the colorful pages. "What are you thinking about?" Logan asked, noticing her distant look. "Nothing," she replied automatically, as she often did when she didn't want to share her thoughts. Logan recognized the habit by now. He closed the laptop he'd been working on and pulled his chair closer. "Can I guess? You're worried about Noah, but afraid that talking about it will make it happen." Maya turned to him, surprised, eyes wide. "How did you know?" "Because I did the same thing when I was a kid," he admitted, surprising himself with how easily he revealed that. "I thought if I didn't talk about my fears, they wouldn't come true." "Does it work?" she asked, hopeful. Logan smiled gently. "Unfortunately, no. Keeping fears inside only makes them grow bigger." Maya bit her lip, mulling that over. Her gaze drifted back to her brother. "I'm scared he'll never get completely better." "The doctors are optimistic, Maya. He's responding well to treatment. But what if it happens again? What if when we leave here, he gets sick again?" Her worry was legitimate. Logan didn't want to offer empty reassurances. "Then we'll come back to the hospital, as many times as necessary. Aren't you going to get tired of us?" The question came weighted with insecurity. Logan felt a pang in his chest. How many disappointments had she gone through to ask that so plainly? "No, Maya, I won't get tired of you." She studied his face as if searching for lies. Apparently satisfied by what she saw, she nodded slightly. "When I was little like you," Logan began, surprising himself again with the urge to share. "I lived in a huge house, had toys in boxes bigger than you. But guess what I didn't have?" "What?" "Someone to play with. My parents were always busy, always traveling, in meetings, parties. They had time to make money, but not time for me." Maya listened intently, completely engrossed. "There was a different nanny almost every month. When I started liking one, she'd leave." Logan gave a sad smile. "I used to hide in the closet in my room, a small space between the clothes, because that was where I felt safe. It was the only place that felt truly mine." "Like a fort?" Maya asked. "Exactly. My own secret fort. I'd take books, a flashlight, snacks. Sometimes I spent the whole day in there." "And nobody found you?" Logan shook his head. "I don't think they even looked very hard. As long as I showed up clean and dressed for dinner when they had important guests, nobody cared where I'd been all day." Maya moved closer, instinctively touching his arm with her small hand. "That's sad." "It is," he agreed. "It was sad. But you know what I learned? Money doesn't buy the things that really matter." "Like what?" "Like having someone notice when you're sad. Someone who cares if you ate, slept well, or are afraid." Maya took that in silently. After a moment, she spoke quietly. "Sometimes I'm scared to sleep." "Why?" "Because when I wake up, the people I care about might be gone." She looked at Noah. "That's why I always wake up before him, to make sure I'm still there when he opens his eyes." The confession, so simple and yet so devastating, made Logan swallow hard. What child should have to carry that burden? "Maya, I want you to know something." He knelt to her eye level. "I'm not leaving as long as you two need me." "That's a promise." "People always promise things," she repeated, mistrust evident. "I know, and many of them break those promises. But I'm asking you to give me a chance to show you I'm different." She thought for a long moment, her eyes studying him with unsettling intensity for someone so young. "Okay," she finally decided. "But if you break your promise..." "If I do, you have every right to be very, very mad at me," Logan finished, smiling. For the first time that day, Maya smiled back, small but genuine. That evening, Logan convinced Maya to go to the hospital cafeteria for a quick dinner. Noah had had a quiet day and was under the watchful care of Nurse Julie, who had earned Maya's trust with her kindness. "What do you want to eat?" Logan asked, eyeing the limited menu options. "Whatever," Maya shrugged, always reluctant to make requests. "Let's try something different," he suggested. "What if you imagine this is the best restaurant in the world and you can choose anything?" Maya played along after a moment's hesitation. I want..." Her eyes scanned the simple menu. A grilled cheese sandwich and fries and a chocolate milkshake. "Excellent choice, madam," Logan replied in a formal tone, making her giggle. During dinner, they talked about simple things, favorite colors, funny stories, the neighbor's dog Maya had seen through the apartment window. For a few moments, they seemed just like a normal family enjoying a meal together, temporarily forgetting the hospital and its worries. When they returned to the room, they found Noah awake, happily babbling at the nurse. Maya rushed to his side, instantly resuming her role as protector. "He looks better," she exclaimed, her face lighting up. "He sure does," Julie confirmed. "He even played with me a bit. He has an adorable laugh." Logan watched Maya interact with her brother, showing him a small, colorful toy, talking as if he understood every word. The bond between them was visible, palpable, a link forged in adversity, stronger than many blood ties he'd seen. Later, after Noah fell asleep again, Maya took out her sketch pad. This time, instead of her usual drawings for her brother, she concentrated on something else. "What are you drawing?" Logan asked, curious. "It's a surprise," she answered, hiding the paper. "I'll show you when I'm done." Half an hour later, she handed him the drawing, 3 stick figures, one small with long hair, an even smaller one in what looked like a crib, and a taller one wearing something that resembled a suit. "That's us," she explained, needlessly. "You, me, and Noah." Logan held the drawing carefully, as if it were a fragile treasure. "It's beautiful, Maya." "You can keep it if you want," she offered, trying to sound casual, but anticipation shone in her eyes. "I'll keep it. And you know what? I'm going to frame it when we get home." The word home slipped out naturally, referring to his apartment as their shared space. Maya didn't comment, but a small smile appeared on her face. That night, when Maya finally fell asleep in the chair beside the hospital crib, Logan gently placed a blanket over her. He stood there, watching the 2 sleeping children, so different from anything he'd had in his life, and yet so strangely familiar. He took out his phone, saw the dozens of unanswered work notifications, and for the first time in years felt no guilt in ignoring them. Instead, he opened the camera and took a soft picture of Maya and Noah sleeping peacefully. It was an image he never imagined he'd want to capture, let alone keep. But now, it seemed the most natural thing in the world. A moment of calm amid chaos, an oasis of connection in a life defined by functional loneliness. He set the photo as his phone's wallpaper, a small gesture that would seem unimportant to an external observer, but for Logan Miller, it represented a silent revolution, a declaration without words that something had changed irreversibly. These two little humans were no longer strangers who crossed his path. They were family. The word was so simple and yet so complex, forming in his mind with surprising ease, family. Not the one he was born into, but the one he'd stumbled upon in a busy street, one he had chosen and which, in some mysterious way, had chosen him too. Noah's 6th night in the hospital began like the previous ones. Logan worked on his laptop, responding to essential emails, while Maya drew beside her brother's crib. The baby slept quietly, with gradual improvements that encouraged the doctors. Discharge was likely in the coming days if progress continued. That's why the sudden alarm of the heart monitor caught everyone off guard. Maya dropped her pencils, eyes wide with terror. Logan jumped to his feet as nurses rushed into the room, moving around the crib with urgent efficiency. "What's happening?" Logan asked, pulling Maya close to keep her out of the team's way. "His oxygen saturation is dropping fast," answered one nurse without taking her eyes off the monitors. "Page Dr. Chen now." Maya remained utterly still in Logan's arms, frozen. Her face went pale, her eyes locked on the organized chaos surrounding her brother. "We have to take him for procedures," one nurse announced, already unlocking the crib's wheels. "We'll update you as soon as we can." In seconds, Noah was wheeled out of the room, leaving behind an oppressive silence. Logan's heart pounded, but he kept his voice calm. "Maya, are you okay?" No response. She still stared at the empty space where her brother's crib had been. Logan knelt in front of her. "Maya, look at me." Slowly, her eyes moved toward him, but they seemed unfocused, as though not truly seeing him. "Noah will be okay," Logan said, trying to convey a certainty he didn't fully feel. "The doctors here are excellent. They'll take care of him." She blinked a few times, finally seeming to register his words. But instead of speaking or crying, she simply turned around, walked to the chair in the corner of the room, and sat hugging her knees to her chest. Logan respected her silence, understanding she was processing the shock in her own way. Rather than force a conversation, he sat in a nearby chair, present but giving her space. Minutes crawled by like hours. Logan alternated between checking the time and watching Maya, who didn't move, didn't speak, just stayed curled up in a chair far too large for her small frame. When Dr. Chen finally returned almost an hour later, both stood up simultaneously. "Noah had a respiratory complication," the doctor explained, his face serious but controlled. "The infection caused fluid buildup in his lungs that we hadn't detected. We performed a procedure to drain it and increased the antibiotics." "Is he going to be all right?" Logan's voice came out more tense than he intended. Dr. Chen glanced briefly at Maya before answering, choosing his words carefully. "The next 24 hours are critical. He's stable now, but we'll need to monitor him constantly." "Can we see him?" Maya's first words since the incident surprised both adults. "He was transferred to the pediatric ICU," the doctor replied gently. "You can see him, but only for a few minutes right now." In the ICU, the impact was evident. Noah looked even smaller, connected to more devices, an intubation tube replacing the nasal cannula. Maya froze at the entrance, hesitant. Logan held her hand, feeling it tremble lightly. "It's all right to be afraid," he whispered to her. "I'm afraid too." That admission seemed to comfort her somewhat. Together they approached the crib. Maya reached out, softly touching her brother's little hand among the wires and tubes. "He can't hear me right now?" she asked quietly. "Of course he can," Logan replied. "He's sedated to keep him comfortable, but he can hear your voice." Maya leaned over the side of the crib. "Hey, Noah, it's me, Maya. You need to get better, okay? We really need you to." The simplicity of her plea made Logan turn away to hide the emotion threatening to overwhelm him. Their allotted minutes were up quickly, and they were ushered back to the original room, now strangely empty without Noah. A nurse explained they could visit him in the ICU at specific times, but they also needed rest. "For you won't help Noah by wearing yourselves out," she gently emphasized. Back in the room, Maya returned to her protective silence. She refused food and responded only with minimal gestures whenever Logan tried to talk. As night fell, he realized they needed a break. "Maya, we need to go home to rest a bit." She shook her head vehemently. eyes still fixed on the empty space where her brother's crib should have been. "The doctors will call if anything changes," Logan insisted. "We'll come back first thing in the morning." "No," she stated firmly. "I don't want to leave." Logan sighed, understanding her fear. "Maya, look at me." She reluctantly turned. "I know you're scared, I am too, but staying here in this empty room while Noah is in the ICU won't help him. We need to rest so we can be strong for him tomorrow." "What if he—" She swallowed hard, unable to finish the sentence. "Noah is fighting," Logan said firmly, "and we have to fight too. Part of that fight is taking care of ourselves so we can take care of him." Maya remained silent, thinking about his words. Finally, in a barely audible voice, she asked, "Promise we'll come back early, before he wakes up." "I promise." The ride home felt oppressively silent. In the elevator, Logan noticed Maya seemed even smaller, as if physically shrinking under the weight of her worry. At the apartment, she headed straight for the room she'd been sharing with her brother, stopping at the door upon seeing it partially empty. Without Noah's crib, which was still at the hospital, it was too much. The silence she'd maintained for hours finally broke. A sob escaped, then another, and suddenly her small body was racked by desperate crying that seemed to come from deep within. Logan didn't hesitate. He knelt and opened his arms. To his surprise, Maya ran to him, burying her face in his chest, her small hands clutching his shirt as though she feared being swept away by an invisible current. "I'm so scared," she confessed between sobs. So scared." "I know," Logan replied, holding her tightly. "I know. What if he dies? What if he dies and I'm all alone?" The direct, devastating question made Logan's heart clench. "Maya, we're doing everything we can. The doctors, the nurses, everyone is fighting for Noah. But sometimes that's not enough," she countered, a painful wisdom in her words. "Sometimes people leave anyway." Logan couldn't deny that truth. Instead, he offered the only certainty he could. "I don't know what will happen with Noah, though I hope he'll get better, but I do know this. You're not alone, Maya. No matter what happens, you won't be alone." She lifted her tear-stained face, studying him intently. "Really? Really?" The conviction in his voice left no room for doubt. Something shifted in her expression then, as though an important internal decision had been made. "Our friend doesn't lie," she murmured, seemingly to herself. Then, looking directly at Logan, "You're our friend now, mine and Noah's." The simplicity of that statement, that "our" placing him firmly inside the small family circle she had formed with her brother, hit Logan with surprising force. He felt his throat tighten with restrained emotion. "Yes," he managed to say, "I'm your friend. Always." Maya's sobs subsided gradually, exhaustion, both emotional and physical, finally catching up to her. Logan persuaded her to take a warm shower and eat something light. Then he suggested she try to sleep a bit. "I can't," she protested. "I keep thinking about Noah all by himself there." "He's not alone," Logan reassured her. "The nurses are with him all the time." "But it's not the same," Maya insisted. "They don't know he likes it when we do funny voices, or that he's scared of the dark." Logan felt a wave of admiration for this child who, even in her own pain, worried about her brother's comfort. "How about this? You tell me all those things about Noah, and tomorrow morning we'll tell the nurses so they can take better care of him until we come back." The suggestion seemed to calm her somewhat. Maya began listing her brother's preferences and habits, creating an unwritten manual on how to care for Noah. Logan listened closely, asking occasional questions, until he noticed her eyes growing heavy with fatigue. "I think it's time to sleep," he said gently. "I don't want to stay in the room without Noah," she admitted. "Would you rather sleep in the guest room?" She hesitated. Can I sit on the balcony for a little while first? I always look at the stars when I'm scared." "Sure." The balcony offered a panoramic view of the city. Maya sat on a cushioned bench, gazing at the night sky. Logan brought a light blanket and placed it around her shoulders before sitting beside her. For a few minutes, they sat in comfortable silence, just watching the distant lights and the stars partially visible between passing clouds. "Logan," Maya broke the silence, "do you think everyone has a place in the world?" The philosophical question, coming from someone so young, surprised him. How do you mean? A place where we really belong. Where things make sense. Logan thought for a moment. I think we all look for that, yes, even though it's not always easy to find. Have you found yours? The question struck a sensitive chord. Logan, who'd spent years building an empire and accumulating wealth, had never really asked himself if he truly belonged anywhere. I'm still looking, I guess, he answered honestly. Maya nodded, as though the answer made sense to her. Me too. What would your place in the world be like if you could choose? Logan asked, genuinely curious. She thought for a moment, her small face serious under the faint city light. It wouldn't have to be big, she began, or pretty like your apartment. I just want somewhere I don't have to be scared. The simplicity of that wish struck Logan deeply. While he'd spent years chasing mansions, cars, planes, and yachts, this child only wanted the most basic thing, safety. What are you scared of? He asked gently. Maya shrugged. Everything, I guess. Not having food for tomorrow, angry men yelling in the hallway, having to run in the middle of the night because the rent wasn't paid. She paused. Losing Noah, really being alone. Each word felt like a tiny blade in Logan's heart. The reality of her life before they met was becoming clearer. A small child bearing burdens far too heavy, living in constant insecurity. Maya, he said softly, I can't promise you'll never be scared again. We all feel scared sometimes, but I can promise you won't have to face it alone. She looked at him thoughtfully. Do you get scared too? Of course. Like today, when Noah's alarms went off. But you seemed so strong. Logan offered a small smile. Being scared doesn't mean we can't be strong. Actually, real courage is doing what needs to be done even when we're afraid. Like you, she observed, even though you were scared, you talked to me and helped me. And like you, he countered, even though you're scared, you take care of your brother every day. Maya considered this, then asked suddenly, Logan, if Noah gets better, do we have to leave here? The question caught Logan off guard. It was true that legally, the situation was temporary. He had provisional custody while the social worker investigated. Eventually, decisions would have to be made. I'm not sure how it will all work out, he replied honestly, but I know I want to stay in your lives one way or another. I want us to stay together, she said with surprising firmness. You, me, and Noah. The desire, stated so simply, touched Logan deeply. He realized he wanted that too, very much. I want that too, Maya. They fell silent again, gazing at the city lights. Finally, Maya yawned, exhaustion winning over anxiety. Let's get some sleep, Logan suggested. We'll go back early tomorrow. She nodded, allowing him to guide her inside. In the guest room, Logan tucked her in gently. Logan, she called when he was almost at the door, thanks for being our friend. It's my privilege, he said, meaning every word. Good night, Maya. Good night. Logan closed the door softly and returned to the balcony. Maya's words echoed in his mind. I just want somewhere I'm not scared. Such a basic, fundamental wish. Meanwhile, he'd spent millions on properties he barely visited, on objects that were nothing more than status symbols. He pulled out his phone and opened his banking app. After a moment of reflection, he made a substantial transfer to his charitable foundation, adding a note, Safe Housing Initiative for Vulnerable Families. It was just the beginning. He knew that. His mind, trained to spot opportunities and devise solutions, was already working on something bigger, more impactful, not just charity, but structural changes. Logan looked at the city skyline he'd always treated as a mere backdrop for his conquests. How many children like Maya and Noah were out there right now? How many families just needed that place without fear? His thoughts drifted back to his lonely childhood in a cavernous mansion, to the sense of displacement he'd carried even amid luxury. Working non-stop, amassing wealth, none of it had filled the emptiness. But now, something was different. One small child on a sidewalk had cried out for help, and in responding, Logan had found something he hadn't known he was looking for. Purpose, connection, maybe even family. Under the night sky, Logan Miller began to rethink everything, his priorities, his goals. the meaning of success. The empire he'd built could be repurposed to create something that truly mattered. His time, once dedicated to accumulating more of what he already possessed, could be invested in those who really needed him. 2 children had opened a door in his life he hadn't realized was closed, and through it, he was beginning to see an entirely new path. His phone buzzed with a message from the hospital. Patient Noah stable, vitals returning to normal. Logan exhaled with relief. A small step, but in the right direction. Tomorrow would be another day of fighting, but for the first time in a long while, he felt he was fighting for something that truly mattered. He glanced at the door of the room where Maya slept and made a silent promise. To her, to Noah, and to himself. They would find that place in the world together. A place without fear. A place to belong. After 5 anxious days in the ICU, Noah finally showed consistent improvement. The breathing tube was removed in favor of less invasive support. Though he still needed to remain hospitalized, the doctors felt optimistic. "He's a fighter," Dr. Chen remarked during the morning visit, "but you two look exhausted." It was true. Logan and Maya had endured an exhausting routine. Hospital, apartment, then hospital again. Deep circles under their eyes betrayed how drained they both were. Even Maya's usual energy seemed dimmed. "Maya," Logan said while they watched Noah sleeping calmly, "how about we go out for a bit today, just a few hours?" She hesitated, throwing a worried glance at her brother. "Doctor," Chen said Noah will be sleeping most of the day because of the medication, Logan continued. "We can leave our numbers with the nurses and come right back if there's any change." Maya bit her lip, considering the idea. "Can we go somewhere close by?" "Sure, there's a park just 2 blocks away." She looked at Noah once more, then nodded. "Okay, but only for a little while." The sky was a perfect blue when they left the hospital, one of those rare spring days when the world feels renewed. Maya squinted at the sunlight on her face, as if she'd forgotten the feel of natural light after so many days under hospital fluorescence. "It's warm," she observed, surprised. "The weather changes quickly while we're busy." Logan smiled, holding her hand as they walked. The park wasn't large, but it had a well-kept playground, leafy trees, and a small pond with ducks. It wasn't very crowded, just a few scattered families, some kids running around, couples strolling. Maya paused at the entrance, eyeing the scene with a mix of longing and apprehension. "What would you like to do first?" Logan asked. She timidly pointed to the swings. "Can I?" "Of course." Logan watched her run to the playground, noticing that she seemed, for that instant, like a real child, no longer the miniature adult forced by circumstances. On the swing, she needed help getting started, and he obliged. "Higher?" she asked after a few gentle pushes. Logan complied, pushing the swing with more force, hearing something rare and precious. Maya's laughter. Not the small, guarded laugh he'd heard occasionally in the apartment, but a free, unrestrained, and infectious giggle. After the swing came the slides, the makeshift seesaw with Logan on the other side, an attempt at climbing the jungle gym. With each activity, Maya seemed to let go of another layer of worry, allowing herself simply to be a kid. "I'm thirsty," she announced after a while, her cheeks flushed from the effort and the fun. "I see an ice cream cart over there," Logan pointed. "How about it?" Her eyes lit up. "Can I pick any flavor?" "Anyone you like." Maya chose a strawberry ice cream with chocolate topping and colored sprinkles, a flashy combination that matched the joy of the moment. Logan opted for a simple lemon popsicle. They sat on a bench under a leafy tree, watching ducks on the pond while they ate their ice cream. A drop ran down Maya's chin, and she wiped it with the back of her hand, laughing. "It's melting so fast," she exclaimed. "That's because it's warm." Logan smiled. "How's your ice cream?" "It's the best ice cream in the entire world," she declared solemnly, as if making an important scientific discovery. Logan felt something expand in his chest, a light, almost forgotten sensation. Simple joy. Not the satisfaction of closing a big deal or acquiring something valuable, but the pure, uncomplicated happiness of being present in a perfect moment. Maya finished her ice cream and looked at him, her face streaked with pink and chocolate. "Thanks for today." "I should be thanking you," he replied. surprised at his own sincerity. A passing woman smiled at the scene, and Maya caught her attention. "Ma'am, could you take a picture of us?" Logan handed over his phone to the helpful stranger. He sat closer to Maya, who grinned widely at the camera, her face still smudged with ice cream, her hair a bit messy from the wind. "Say ice cream," the woman prompted. "Ice cream," they answered in unison, Maya giggling, Logan smiling in a way that reached his eyes, something that hadn't happened in photos for years. When the woman handed the phone back, Logan looked at the captured image and felt a lump in his throat. There he was, unrecognizable to any of his business associates. No mask of seriousness, no calculated stance. Just a man genuinely happy beside a radiant child. "Did it come out nice?" Maya asked, stretching up to see. "Perfect," he replied, pocketing the phone. They strolled back to the hospital slowly, as if wanting to make the moment last. Maya collected a few colorful leaves along the way, planning to show them to Noah when he woke. Those few hours, stolen from the harsh reality they faced, were like a glimpse into another possible life. A life where simple moments of happiness weren't exceptions, but the rule. A day of sunshine in the midst of the storm, a moment of perfect peace. Noah's condition continued improving steadily. After 2 weeks in the hospital, the doctors discussed discharging him in the coming days. Logan had already started adjusting his apartment to welcome the baby back, creating a safer, more comfortable environment. Meanwhile, the social worker assigned to the case, Mrs. Winters, continued her investigation of the children's family situation. So far, she had found little beyond what Maya had already shared. The mother had left and hadn't returned. There were no known relatives, and their previous housing conditions were precarious. Logan sat in the hospital office, waiting for a scheduled meeting with the social worker. Maya was with Noah, showing him a colorful new book Logan had bought. The last few weeks had been intense, focused on the baby's recovery, but now that the immediate danger had passed, practical issues emerged. The children's future had to be settled. Mrs. Winters walked in, folder in hand, her expression as neutral as ever. "Mr. Miller," she greeted formally. "Any news?" Logan got straight to the point. "Actually, yes." She opened the folder, arranging some papers. "We found more complete records. The mother's full name is Tessa Collins, 32 years old. Last known address in the East District, matching what the girl described." Logan froze upon hearing the name. Tessa Collins, an echo from the past so unexpected that for a moment he thought he'd misheard. "Mr. Miller, are you all right?" The social worker noticed his shift in expression. "Yes, could you repeat that name?" "Tessa Collins. Why? Does the name mean something to you?" Logan tried to reorganize his thoughts. It could be a coincidence, of course. Collins wasn't that unusual a surname. But something in him knew. It had to be her. "Do you have a photo?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The social worker hesitated, then turned the folder so he could see a copy of an ID. A woman with dark hair like Maya's, tired eyes but with unmistakable features. "My God," Logan murmured, feeling suddenly dizzy. "It's her. You know this woman?" Logan closed his eyes briefly, as memories from long ago rushed over him with overwhelming force. "I knew her. Many years ago. The Miller mansion 24 years earlier. The backyard garden stretched over acres, with perfectly trimmed hedges forming a maze where an 8-year-old boy ran, constantly looking over his shoulder. Logan knew every curve, every secret passage. It was his realm of escape. "Logan," a female voice called. "Where have you gone?" "Your French tutor is here." He held his breath, hiding behind an ornamental bush. The housekeeper walked right by, grumbling about spoiled children and wasted money. When her footsteps faded, he heard a giggle behind him. "You're really good at this," said Tessa, emerging from her own hiding spot. 1 year younger than he, thin and agile, with dark braids and perpetually scraped knees. "Shh." Logan placed a finger to his lips, but he was smiling. "Let's go to the oak tree." They ran silently, avoiding windows and open areas, until they reached a massive tree at the edge of the property. Partially hidden by thick foliage, there was a rudimentary treehouse that Logan had built with the gardener's help, before the gardener was fired for getting too close to the young master. "I brought something," Tessa said after climbing up. She pulled 2 freshly baked chocolate cookies from her apron pocket, still warm. "Mom let me take them from the batch." Logan accepted the cookie as if it were a treasure. In the Miller mansion, sweets were strictly controlled. "A boy from a good family needs dietary discipline," his mother always said. "Your mom's the best," he declared between bites. Tessa beamed proudly. "She said she'd teach me how to make them someday. Then I can bring them for you all the time." Technically, Tessa wasn't supposed to be there at all. She was the daughter of Rosa Collins, the cleaning lady, only coming to the mansion on days she had no school and her mom had no one to watch her. The house rules were clear. She had to stay in the kitchen, quiet, out of the way. But Logan, lonely in the chilly palace he called home, found in her an ally, a friend. "What's that?" Tessa pointed to a book Logan had hidden in the treehouse. "An atlas?" Logan opened it, revealing colorful maps. "It shows the whole world." They spent the afternoon imagining adventures, pointing to distant places and dreaming of visiting them. Logan would be an explorer, Tessa a scientist discovering magical plants. They'd go together, they promised each other, as soon as they were old enough to run away. "Tessa!" called Rosa in the distance. "Time to go, sweetheart." "I have to run," she said, quickly gathering the cookie crumbs in a handkerchief. "See you Thursday." "See you Thursday," Logan confirmed. "I'll bring the new game I got." Tessa climbed down quickly, waved one last time and ran to the service entrance where her mother waited. Logan stayed behind, the world suddenly less colorful without his secret friend. "Mr. Miller," the social worker's voice pulled him back to the present. "You said you knew Tessa Collins." Logan cleared his throat, trying to regain composure. "Yes, a long time ago. Her mother worked for my family when we were kids." Mrs. Winters raised her eyebrows, surprised by the coincidence. "I see. Well, this might be relevant. We found that Tessa Collins was admitted to a substance abuse rehab center about 2 months ago, but she left against medical advice after 3 weeks. Since then, there's no record of her employment or current address." Logan felt a pang of sadness. The girl with braids and scraped knees, always laughing, always bringing color to his gray world. How had it come to this? "Have you located her?" he asked. "Not yet. We're checking shelters, hospitals." She paused. "Given the situation and your involvement with the children, I'm recommending that your temporary guardianship be extended. That'll provide more legal security for you while we continue the investigation." Logan nodded, still processing the shocking news. "I want to help find her," he said suddenly. "I can hire private investigators to complement the official search." The social worker regarded him curiously. "That's unusual, but I don't see any legal impediment. However, I must caution you that a family reunion isn't always the best solution, depending on circumstances." "I understand. But I think these children deserve to know what happened to their mother, at the very least." After the meeting, Logan wandered the hospital corridors, trying to process the revelation. Tessa Collins, his first friend, his only friend for many years. Thursday meeting at Miller Mansion 23 years earlier. "You can't play today, young master." The new housekeeper, Mrs. Hadley, was strict and much more efficient at finding him than the previous one. "You have etiquette lessons in half an hour, and your father wants to see you afterward to discuss your progress in school." Logan, now 9, looked anxiously at the window. It was Thursday. Tessa would be waiting. "Just 1 hour, please." "Absolutely not. And I suggest you stop looking toward the service entrance. There's nothing there for you anymore." Something in her tone unsettled him. "What do you mean?" Mrs. Hadley straightened the sleeves of her immaculate uniform. "Mrs. Collins no longer works for this family. Your father let her go this morning." Shock paralyzed Logan. "But why?" "That's none of your concern, young master. Now go get ready for your lesson." That night, hidden at the top of the stairs, Logan overheard his parents talking in the living room. "An unsuitable influence," his father was saying. "The girl is ill-mannered, no refinement. I don't want my son mixing with those people." "I agree, dear," his mother replied softly. But wasn't it drastic to fire her mother without notice? Rosa was always a good employee. She was taking advantage of our generosity, bringing her daughter here, and I heard from Mrs. Hadley that she was giving our son cookies, trinkets, completely inappropriate. Well, it's done now. And the new etiquette tutor is doing wonders for the boy. Logan returned to his room, feeling the first tears he'd allowed in years. The next day, he skipped lessons and ran to the oak tree, but the treehouse was empty. He left a note, then another and another in the following days. None were answered. Tessa had simply vanished from his life, taking with her the only hours of genuine happiness he knew. Back in the hospital room, Logan watched Maya talking animatedly to her brother. The resemblance was striking now that he knew. They had Tessa's expressive eyes, the same smile that lit up her entire face. "Logan," Maya called when she saw him. Noah held the book all by himself. "Look." He walked over, smiling at her excitement, though his mind still reeled from the day's revelations. Tessa Collins, his first friend, the girl his father had banished for not being the right sort. And now, by some cosmic twist of fate, her children had literally fallen into his arms on a busy sidewalk. "Logan, you look weird," Maya observed, tilting her head. "Did something happen?" He hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "I learned a few things about your mother," he said at last. Maya immediately became alert, her eyes wide. "You found her. Is she coming back?" "We haven't found her yet," he said gently, "but we're looking, and I found out that I knew her when we were kids." "Really?" The disbelief in Maya's voice was clear. "Yes, Logan paused, searching for simple words. "She was my friend. Her mother worked at my house." "You were friends?" Maya seemed unable to process the coincidence. "Like, you played together and stuff?" Logan smiled faintly, sweet memories emerging among the painful ones. "Yes, we played together in secret. She always brought me cookies." "My mom makes good cookies," Maya said softly, almost to herself. Logan's heart tightened. So Tessa had indeed learned that recipe from her mother. That small detail, so insignificant, made everything more real. "We'll find her, Maya," he promised, though he knew he shouldn't raise false hope. "And when we do, maybe she can tell us more about those times." Maya nodded, pondering these new facts. "It's weird," she said finally, "how we met on the street like that. And now you say you knew my mum." "Sometimes life has surprising turns," Logan replied, knowing how inadequate that sounded for what he felt. That night, after Maya fell asleep in the chair by Noah's crib, Logan stayed awake, remembering those distant years. How different would his life have been if his father hadn't separated the families? What path would Tessa have followed if she hadn't been torn away from the relative security she had? And most importantly, what had happened in those intervening 23 years to turn the cheerful, fearless girl into the desperate woman who abandoned 2 children? Logan picked up his phone and called his most reliable private investigator. "I need you to find someone," he said as soon as the call was answered. "It's urgent and personal. Tessa Collins, 32 years old." As he supplied the details, Logan looked at the sleeping children. A circle was closing, unexpectedly and painfully. Yet for the first time, he felt there might be a greater reason for everything that had happened. He didn't believe in fate or divine intervention, but at that moment, it seemed impossible to credit mere chance for the path that had brought them together. The Santa Clara shelter was in a far corner of the city, an old brick building with narrow windows. Logan parked out front, watching as people came and went, tired faces, some determined, others beaten down by life. 3 days had passed since the investigator called with Tessa's location. Logan had postponed this meeting, unsure how to proceed. Maya and Noah were finally home. Noah had been discharged a week ago with strict medical instructions. A fragile but comforting routine was settling in. Now he was about to shake it all up again. "Are you sure you want to do this alone?" his driver asked, noticing his hesitation. "Yes," Logan replied, opening the door. "Wait here. I don't know how long this will take." The shelter's interior was surprisingly organized and clean, though modest. A middle-aged receptionist looked up as he entered. May I help you? I'm looking for Tessa Collins, he said, trying to sound casual despite the tension within him. The woman eyed his expensive suit and posture with a practiced gaze. And you are? An old friend, he replied honestly. Logan Miller. Something about his name seemed to ring a bell. Ah, yes. The social worker mentioned someone might come. Tessa is in the back garden. She led him down a hallway, passing a communal kitchen where a few women prepared lunch, then a lounge with worn sofas where children played under the watchful eyes of volunteers. She loves the garden, the receptionist explained. Spends hours out there even on cold days. A door at the end of the hallway opened onto a small courtyard with a few benches and flower beds, well tended despite limited resources. There she was. Her back to the entrance, Tessa Collins was kneeling by one of the flower beds, pulling weeds in a methodical way. Her hair, shorter than in Logan's memories, was threaded with premature grey. She was too thin, her shoulders bowed as if bearing invisible weight. Tessa, the receptionist called. Someone's here to see you. She turned slowly, dusting her hands off automatically. When her eyes met Logan's, time seemed to freeze. There was no doubt. She recognized him immediately, fully. Logan Miller, she said, her voice rougher than he'd imagined but undeniably familiar. After all this time, the receptionist glanced between them, sensing the intensity. I'll leave you two to talk, she murmured, retreating indoors. They stood in silence for a few seconds, just observing each other. 23 years had passed since they'd last seen each other, a whole lifetime. How did you find me? Tessa asked at last. Logan took a few steps forward, stopping at a respectful distance. That's a long story. A faint, humorless smile tugged at her lips. I heard you became somebody important, a billionaire, right? Saw your face in magazines a few times. And you... Logan hesitated, unsure how to proceed. And I became a mess, she finished without self-pity, just stating a fact. Life is funny in its twists. Can we talk? He asked, indicating a nearby bench. Tessa nodded and stood with some difficulty. Logan noticed she limped slightly as she walked to the bench. They sat side by side, silence heavy between them again. Your children are all right, Logan said at last, watching her reaction closely. Tessa closed her eyes, a tremor running through her body. When she opened them again, they were filled with tears. You've met them, she said, not as a question. How? Maya stopped me on the street when Noah stopped breathing. I took them to the hospital. Tessa covered her mouth with one hand, stifling a sob. He was sick when I left. He was starting to cough. He developed severe pneumonia, spent almost 3 weeks in the hospital, but he's okay now. And Maya? Her voice shook at her daughter's name. She's an extraordinary girl, Logan said genuinely. She looked after her brother better than many adults would. Tessa's face contorted in pain. She's always looked after him. Ever since he was born, it was like she understood she had to protect him. Tessa, Logan began carefully, trying to keep his tone neutral. What happened? She looked at her own hands, now free of garden dirt but marked with calluses and small scars, signs of hard work and hardship. After we left your house, she said, referring to that distant time in childhood, my mom never found stable work. Your father made sure of that, a blacklist, I guess. Nobody would hire the woman Mr. Miller had fired. Logan felt a surge of shame. It wasn't surprising. His father had power and didn't hesitate to use it, especially to keep out negative influences. We moved a lot, Tessa continued. Each place worse than the last. By the time I was 16, my mom got sick. Cancer. No insurance, no money for proper treatment. She shrugged, a gesture carrying all the world's injustice. She died before my 17th birthday. I'm so sorry, Logan murmured, the words inadequate for such tragedy. I dropped out of school, took whatever job I could, met Maya's father at one of those jobs, a diner. He seemed nice, stable. Disappeared when he found out I was pregnant. She let out a mirthless laugh. Typical, right? Then came Noah's father. Another mistake, more violent than the first. Logan stayed silent, letting her unravel a story of abandonment and struggle. But I managed, Tessa went on, some pride in her voice. I worked hard, took care of Maya, always trying to give her more than I had. Then when I got pregnant with Noah, things got harder. I lost my job in the 8th month, couldn't pay rent. Is that when the drug problem started? Logan asked gently, without judgment. Tessa gave him a surprised look. The social worker told you, huh? No, it was after that. Noah was born with respiratory issues. He needed constant care, expensive meds. Medical bills piled up. I worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs. Never slept. She took a shaky breath. Pills started just to keep me going. Then, it got worse. The garden was quiet now, only distant traffic and occasional birdsong punctuating her words. At first, it was just to have energy. Then it became a need. Tessa crossed her arms, as though feeling cold despite the mild day. Everything spiraled quickly. In a few months, I was dependent. All the money went to that. We lost the apartment, ended up in a worse place. I saw what I was doing to the kids, but I couldn't stop. She looked directly at Logan, pain in her eyes almost tangible. One night I overdosed. Maya found me, 7 years old, and had to call the ambulance for her own mom. Her voice cracked. After that, I tried rehab. On the 3rd week, Noah got really sick. The neighbor watching them said it was getting worse. I left against medical advice. And that's when you left them. Tessa shook her head slowly. No, I went back home. But I was fragile. The withdrawal, the guilt, all of it. I spent a few days with them, trying to care for Noah, but we ran out of medicine, food. She swallowed hard. One morning, I just broke. Told Maya I was going to buy milk. I walked until I couldn't anymore. Ended up on a park bench, crying for hours. When I finally got up, I couldn't go back. Why? The question escaped Logan before he could restrain it. Shame, Tessa answered simply. Fear. I thought they'd be better off without me. Someone would notice them, call social services. Maybe they'd go to a real home with functional adults. Tears streamed freely now. I regret leaving them. I was so sick. That's why I stayed away. I thought they'd be better without me. But now I see I was wrong. Logan resisted the urge to reach out physically, to offer comfort. Instead, he asked, "How did you end up here?" After wandering for days, I was found dehydrated, delirious. I went into psych care, then got sent here. I've been clean for 6 weeks. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. When I started feeling better, I wanted to go back for them, but I didn't know how. I didn't even know if they were still there. What if someone had taken them, if they were split up? Every scenario I imagined was worse than the last. They're safe, Logan reaffirmed. They're all right. With you, Tessa finished. The universe has a strange sense of humor, doesn't it? Out of all the people they could run into. Logan let out a brief, ironic laugh. Fate, maybe. Maybe? She paused, steeling herself. I want to see them, Logan. I know I have no right to ask. I messed up everything, but they're my kids. I need to at least tell them I'm sorry, that it wasn't their fault. And then, he asked gently. The question lingered between them, laden with implications. I want to be with them again, Tessa answered, meeting his gaze head-on. But I'm not naive. I know I can't just show up and pick up where I left off. I have to prove I'm better, that I can be the mother they deserve. She took a deep breath. I don't want to take them from you, Logan. I see what you've done for them, how much you love them. I just want a chance to rebuild our relationship, to be part of their lives again. Logan considered her words. He'd spent a lot of time thinking about this moment, preparing arguments, conditions, even veiled threats if necessary. But now, sitting with the girl who'd once been his only friend, now a broken woman trying to rebuild her life, those strategies felt cruel and unnecessary. Maya asks about you, he said finally. Not every day, but she does. She wants to know if you're okay, if you'll come back. A spark of hope lit Tessa's eyes. What do you tell her? The truth, that we didn't know, but we were searching. And now that you found me. Logan chose his words carefully. I think we can start slowly, supervised visits, see how Maya reacts, how you feel. Noah is very young and won't remember, but Maya, He hesitated. She's been through a lot. She's strong but also fragile. We have to protect her from more trauma. I completely agree, Tessa nodded eagerly. We'll go at her pace. I just want a chance to show I'm really trying. I'll help however I can, Logan offered. I have connections to set up therapy, job training, whatever you need. Why? Tessa whispered. Why are you doing all this for me? Logan thought about it. Why, indeed? Was it guilt about the past? Responsibility for the children? Or something deeper? Because that girl who brought me cookies was the first person who made me feel I mattered, he answered honestly. And because your kids taught me more about what really matters in life than 20 years in the corporate world ever did. Tessa gave a sad but genuine smile. You were always a good kid, Logan, even in that cold mansion. And you were always brave, he replied. You still are. Not everyone can rebuild their life from scratch. They worked out initial details. Logan would return in 2 days, bringing Maya for a first meeting on neutral ground, a little cafe near the shelter, where they could talk without the formality of an official supervised visit. How will you prepare Maya? Tessa asked, anxiety clear in her voice. With honesty, Logan replied. She deserves to know what's happening. I'll explain you were sick, you're getting better, and you want to see her. And if she doesn't want to see me? Tessa's greatest fear was evident. She will, Logan assured. It might take time to forgive, to trust again, but she'll want to see you. When they said goodbye, the initial tension had given way to a strange sense of closure. They were no longer the cleaner's daughter and the rich boy, nor the absent mother and the billionaire benefactor. They were just two adults trying to do their best for two children they loved. Thank you, Tessa said, walking him to the door, for taking care of them when I couldn't, for not judging me now. Everyone deserves a second chance, Logan replied. I got mine when Maya stopped me on the street. On the way back, Logan thought about how he would tell Maya. He knew it would be delicate, that he'd have to find the perfect balance of honesty and sensitivity. To his surprise, when he arrived at the apartment, he found Maya cheerfully playing with Noah in the living room. Her face lit up at the sight of him. Logan! Look, Noah's trying to crawl. He joined them on the rug, watching the baby's clumsy attempts, his sister's enthusiastic encouragement. For a moment, he allowed himself just to be present in that simple joy, postponing the difficult conversation until later. Where did you go? Maya asked casually, genuine curiosity in her eyes. Logan took a deep breath. I met someone today, someone who really wants to see you and Noah. Maya froze, instinctively pulling her brother closer. Your mom, he continued gently. I found your mother, Maya. Her eyes widened, a complex mix of emotions flashing across her face. Hope, fear, confusion, longing. Is she okay? She finally asked, voice barely above a whisper. She's getting better, he answered honestly, and she really wants to see you if you're ready. Maya was silent for a long moment, processing. Then, to Logan's surprise, she nodded slowly. I want to see her, she said simply. In that moment, Logan realized they were starting a new journey. It wouldn't be easy or linear. There would be setbacks, fears, doubts. But there was also hope. It wouldn't be a return to what was before, impossible and maybe not even desirable. It would be something entirely new, a fresh start for all of them. Logan's apartment was spotless on that Sunday morning. Maya had helped organize everything, her toys put away, cushions arranged. Even a small vase of wildflowers Logan had purchased at the market graced the coffee table. Now she sat by the window, gazing anxiously down at the street. Is she coming soon? She asked for the third time in less than 20 minutes. Any minute, Logan answered patiently. Would you like to draw something to show her when she arrives? Maya shook her head, preferring to continue her watch. After 2 meetings in neutral locations, first at the cafe near the shelter, then a walk in the park, today Tessa was visiting the apartment for the first time. It was a significant step, an emotional boundary to cross. When the doorbell finally rang, Maya froze. The doodle she'd been sketching idly fell forgotten on the table, her eyes locked on the door with an intensity that blended anticipation and apprehension. "Do you want to answer it?" Logan asked softly. After a moment's hesitation, Maya nodded. She smoothed out the blue dress they'd chosen just for this occasion and walked to the door with deliberate steps. Logan stayed back at a respectful distance, giving her space for this crucial moment. When the door opened, it revealed Tessa standing in the hallway. She wore a simple cotton dress, her hair tied in a ponytail that softened the tense lines of her face. In her trembling hands, she held a small bouquet of wildflowers. Behind her, Mrs. Winters, the social worker, stood a few steps back, discreet but observant. "Hi, Maya," Tessa said, her voice barely above a whisper. The moment mother and daughter locked eyes seemed to stretch on infinitely. Then something in Tessa's face crumbled. All the composure she'd carefully built for this moment gave way to the impact of seeing her daughter on the doorstep, so close yet so distant. In one instinctive movement, she dropped to her knees, coming eye level with Maya. The bouquet slipped from her fingers as silent tears started to fall. "I'm sorry," she said simply, with no elaboration or excuses. Just that word, laden with all the regret she carried. Maya stood motionless, her small face a tapestry of conflicted emotions, hurt, confusion, distrust, and an indescribable longing. For a long moment, the world felt frozen around them. Then, with surprising gentleness, Maya reached out and touched her mother's face. A hesitant gesture, almost cautious, as though checking if she was real and not just another dream she often had. "You really came back," she murmured, half statement, half question. Tessa nodded, covering her daughter's small hand with her own. "I did," she managed. "And I'll never leave again if you let me stay." The moment was interrupted by a cry from the bedroom, Noah waking from his nap. Maya stepped back slightly, creating space between them, but then she held out her hand to her mother. "Come," she said simply. "Noah will want to see you." Tessa accepted the offered hand, standing up with tears still in her eyes. Logan picked up the fallen bouquet while Mrs. Winters indicated she'd remain in the living room, giving the family privacy for the reunion. In the bedroom, decorated with a mobile of stars and planets, Noah sat in a small crib. Though still requiring some medical equipment for monitoring, his condition had greatly improved in recent weeks. Seeing the baby, so tiny amid the pillows, Tessa stopped abruptly. "My baby," she whispered, a sob catching in her throat. "My Noah." The little one gazed at the stranger with curiosity. No recognition, but no fear. When Tessa tentatively extended a hand, he grabbed her finger with surprising strength for someone so fragile. That simple gesture triggered another wave of emotion. "He likes holding fingers," Maya explained, watching intently, "and stories with funny voices." Logan hovered in the doorway, quietly observing the moment. Seeing this fragmented family trying to reconnect touched a deep part of him, a longing for belonging he recognized in himself, despite his privileges. The day passed in careful conversation. In the living room, while Noah played on a blanket with colorful blocks, Maya slowly shared bits of her new life, the school she now attended, friends she was beginning to make, little day-to-day stories with Logan. Tessa listened with absolute attention, as though each word was a treasure. When Maya asked about the past, Tessa answered with honest explanations adjusted to a child's understanding. No elaborate lies or empty promises, just the simple truth. She had been sick, she made mistakes, but she was fighting to get better, to be worthy of her children once again. Logan and Mrs. Winters watched, intervening only when necessary, giving the family space to find their own rhythm of reconnection. That evening, when it was time for Tessa to return to the shelter, Maya surprised everyone with a shy request. "Can you tuck me in tonight?" Tessa glanced at Logan and the social worker, silently asking for permission. After both nodded, she answered with a voice full of emotion, "Of course, if you want me to." Logan watched from the doorway as Tessa helped Maya with her pajamas, brushed her hair gently, and finally tucked her into bed. The girl asked for a story, and Tessa improvised in a soft, melodic tone, a tale of a brave girl searching for her way back home. When the story ended, something unexpected happened. Maya shifted on the bed, making a small space beside her. "Lie down with me for a bit." Tessa looked at Logan, too emotional to speak. He nodded discreetly and left, leaving the door partially open. Mother and daughter lay side by side, forming a small island in the sea of blankets. They didn't speak further, just stayed together, breathing gradually sinking in the peaceful silence. Logan returned to the living room, where Mrs. Winters waited with her notepad. "That went better than we hoped," she observed. "Maya shows a surprising openness." "She's extraordinary," Logan replied. "Stronger and wiser than any of us." After checking on Noah one last time, Logan sank onto the couch, exhausted but strangely at peace. In the apartment's hush, he could hear the breathing of 3 people in the bedroom, Noah's soft snore in his crib, Maya's deeper slumber, and Tessa's probably still awake, savoring every second of that moment. For the first time since the whole journey began on that sidewalk, Logan felt a real thread of hope for this family. No longer a fragile hope based on wishes, but something tangible, anchored in actions and commitment. Days later, Noah was finally given a full discharge. The doctors, pleased with his recovery, removed the monitoring equipment, requiring only regular checkups. The baby returned home not just healthier but livelier. His coos and smiles filled the apartment with contagious joy. Maya took on a dual role, protective yet proud. "See how strong he is now," she repeated to anyone who'd listen. Tessa, strictly following her rehab program at the shelter, visited as often as permitted, with visits growing more frequent and lasting longer, as Mrs. Winters noted positive progress. Each day brought small improvements, a spontaneous laugh from Maya, a moment of bonding, Noah's growing familiarity with his mother's presence. Logan observed it all closely, impressed by Tessa's genuine effort. She wasn't just staying clean, she was truly committed to rebuilding her life. She had started a gardening course, attended therapy sessions diligently, support groups. Most importantly, she was present and honest with her children, never making promises she couldn't keep. One quiet afternoon, while Maya played with Noah in the living room, Logan called Tessa out to the balcony. The sun was setting, painting the sky with gold and orange hues. "I have something to show you," he said, handing her a set of keys with a small flower-shaped keychain. "What's this?" she asked, puzzled. "See that building?" He pointed out the window. "I bought you an apartment there. It's small but comfortable, furnished, ready to move in. It's 2 minutes from here." Tessa's eyes went wide, looking from the keys to Logan in disbelief. "Logan, I can't accept that." "It's not a gift," he clarified gently. "It's an opportunity with conditions. Continue treatment, work, be the mother they deserve. Consider it a loan if you prefer. Something you can repay someday by helping others," he went on. "Along with the apartment, I've arranged a job for you in my foundation's gardening project. It's not charity. They genuinely need someone with your skills, and I'll stay in the kids' lives. I'm not trying to replace anyone, but I want to remain part of this." Tears filled Tessa's eyes. "Why are you doing this for me?" "It's not just for you," he said honestly. "It's for them too. The kids need their mother nearby, but in a stable, secure way." Tessa clutched the keys to her chest, tears now flowing freely. "You're a good friend, Logan." "You always were," she said at last. "Fate drove us apart, but here we are, more connected than ever. Thank you for taking care of my children." She paused, wiping her tears. "Thank you for not giving up on me." Maya appeared at the balcony door, curious about their conversation. Seeing her mom crying, she approached slowly. "Are you okay?" Tessa smiled through her tears. "Yeah, sweetie, better than I've been in a long time." When Logan explained the arrangement, Maya's face lit up with the realization that her mom would always be close by, without it meaning losing Logan. A genuine smile formed, one of a child who finally felt she could lower her guard. That night, they all had dinner together at Logan's apartment. Tessa held Noah in her arms, feeding him patiently. The baby, now more active, reached for Logan whenever he passed, wanting his attention too. Tessa and Logan exchanged a look of silent agreement. They would both be a constant presence in these children's lives. More than that, a childhood friendship had found its way back. Logan and Tessa, once inseparable under a big house's shadow, were forging new ties, deeper, more mature, a friendship that had never truly died, only fallen dormant with time, now reborn, changing lives. A few weeks later, with Tessa settled in the nearby apartment but spending most of her time at Logan's place with the children, Maya arrived with a surprise, a colorful sign she'd made at school, decorated with glitter and drawings. "It's for the door," she announced proudly. Logan helped her hang it at the apartment entrance. In colorful childlike letters, it read, "Maya, Noah, Logan and Tessa." It wasn't a traditional definition of family, but it was theirs, built through unexpected encounters, trials, second chances, and above all, the daily choice to stay. Over the following months, a new routine took shape. Noah, fully recovered, ran around the garden, his laughter echoing among the trees. Maya painted on the balcony with Tessa, creating vibrant art together. Logan, having reorganized his professional life to be more present, prepared dinner as he listened to their laughter drifting in from outside. The promise murmured on that sidewalk. On the day it all began, when Logan held a barely breathing baby and vowed to a desperate little girl that he would help, had been kept in ways none of them could have imagined. This was a family formed not by blood or paperwork, but by love, listening and staying. By the daily decision to remain, even when things got hard. By learning that a person's place in the world isn't an address, it's the people we choose to share the journey with. And for 4 people who had known loneliness and abandonment, that discovery was the greatest treasure they could have found. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.